That's the opening of the Wily Wars game, by the way, which I'd failed to show off at any other time before, so hey, now's as good a time as any. Must do 0063 back a little later than planned to finish off Wily Tower. Apologies for the gap between my Mega Water S video and this one, but yeah, it happened again. I had another personal nightmare when it comes to recording footage, software, etc. About a week ago, I was all ready to record the voiceover for the Fortress stages, when at various points in the video, the footage just skipped huge chunks of the level, and I seem to have completely lost that footage. I have no idea what happened. So, I had to re-record another version of the Fortress stages, and I don't have my Mega Drive at home. It just so happened that I was going back to the family home for a few days visit, and thankfully I was able to get another recording done. So on the plus side, from a Let's Play point of view, I do a much better job at showing everything off, branching paths and all, which I have to confess I had not done in my original recording. But obviously, on the downside, I really wish I hadn't been beset by such problems again. And recording Wily Tower footage is a lot more convoluted than any of the other classic Mega Man games. I can plug something from the back of my GameCube or Wii into my laptop and record the gameplay straight into a video on my laptop. There's then a little bit of mucking around getting the video into a viewable form on my PC, something about Windows compatibility, Windows Media Viewer Player, I have no idea. But the process isn't that bad. As far as I'm aware, the ability to just plug in the hardware that allows me to record straight from my GameCube Wii into my laptop just isn't possible with the Mega Drive. So I had to re-record the footage onto a VHS cassette, then transfer that footage onto a DVD, plug the hardware into the back of my DVD player to copy the footage onto my laptop, and then muck around to finally get it onto my PC where I can start editing, adding post-commentary, etc. Huge pain in the backside. Maybe I had a dodgy VHS tape or something and that contributed to why the footage just skipped large chunks, I don't know. But ultimately I had to re-record these Fortress stages. I couldn't possibly post the original run-through and call it a Let's Play. It's just a mess. And to illustrate what I mean, here's what happened during the first Fortress stage. I swear I've not done any editing of this clip whatsoever. This is how the video runs. It just skipped half of the stage and picked up a third of the way through the boss fight. What the hell? Here's another example from Fortress Stage 3. Ladder to ladder, that one screen was entirely missing. Now it turned out that my second run through was a lot less clumsy, and I did say at the end of the previous video there would be clumsiness abound. And while I unfortunately can't show you everything, I did promise screw-ups, so from what footage actually remained intact, enjoy this selection of failure. Clearly, a superbly proficient run-through. But yeah, a brief insight into the difficulties I experienced recording footage for the Wily Tower Fortress stages. Apologies for what will be a general lack of mess-ups, but on the flip side, I will now be able to show off more of the stages, so from a Let's Play viewpoint, that is a big plus. Right, let's finally get this Let's Play finished. Well, we've smashed Wily's specially designed robots into tin cans. Well, 2 of them anyway. So let's go take out the head honcho Wily himself. This is Wily Tower. There are 4 stages to it, and at the beginning here you'll see that you can change weapons going into the tower. You can also do so in between stages in the towers as well, so that's a nice touch. Okay, I had to shut up there so you could hear that awesome music at the beginning of the first Fortress stage there. That first screen we saw some spines from, I'm going to go ahead and say bomb stage. They're from a couple, etc., but let's call them from bomb stage. And in the second screen we have some Optus batteries, probably best known from cut stage. And oh goody goody, it's Big Eye. But this time I have a slide, and that makes things oh so much easier. Some fire pillars, obviously from Fireman stage, and here we come to our first branching path. So these little screw bombs from Fire stage, you can shoot through the floor. I said shoot through the floor, thank you. And yeah, with that little trick they're not too bad, just obviously keep your distance, hang them back on the ladder, and you should be absolutely fine. So yes, obviously this is the first branching path, so we're going up, and we encounter these electric beams from, obviously, Elect stage. And also more spine enemies, also from Elect stage, and bombs as I stated earlier. And here we have a fun little Elect puzzle, which I screwed up first time because I felt that I decided that I wasn't quite quick enough, etc. You have to be reasonably quick through that section, so yeah. Here you have little fire pillars, but you can slide through, but I decided to call Rush Coil and get out of there. I said I decided to call Rush Coil and get out of there. Stupid dog. So, with that out of the way, eventually, we come to this little section, which is obviously borrowed from Guts stage. You can see these little platforms rolling around on the tracks. The upper path there, you can obviously see that there are gaps in there, so I decided to be a little bit cowardly and just wait for the bottom platform, just kind of run along. It's safer. You really shouldn't have too much problems anyway, but yeah, it just so happens to be the safer option. And we can obviously see again here that the stage is borrowing heavily from Fireman, with lots of lava at the bottom, fire tackles, and these fire enemies dropping from the sky, and more fire waves to get through. And this can be a little tricky bit, particularly with the screw bombers here shooting at the same time as well. So you have to kind of pull off some reasonably kind of intricate jumps in order to get through. And sliding through these fire waves is not the easiest thing either. So just try and time it as best you can, really. Through that one, and we're still not quite done. We have an Optus battery here, which I try and take out. Well, eventually anyway, having missed about 5 shots in a row on it. But eventually it goes down, and the bottom bit is very tricky, so I decide, well, what the hell, I haven't got yet, I'll just take them all out with Thunder Beam. The Thunder Beam. The Thunder Beam. Jeez. Eventually I take them out with the Thunder Beam. And in dropping down, we get to our first, or the end of our first branching path. So let's flip back and take the other path. And you can obviously see here that there's a barrier that we need to break with Crash Bomb. And I have no idea why I waited for the shots from that screw bomber to get out of the way to jump up and hit the wall. I could have easily just shot the Crash Bomb at the wall at a lower height and got through there. Why I did that, I have no idea, but hey ho. So yeah. Smash through the 2 crash barriers, and this is the other branching path. So we have a spine along the bottom, which we don't really have to worry too much about, and these pop-up nets from Guts stage. There is also an energy tank this way, if you so wish, but oh god, it's the dreaded footholders from Icy stage. And here I really couldn't be bothered to do it, so I just pull out Rush Jet. As you can see here, I'm bouncing up and down, not wasting my Rush Jet energy as well. Yes, that trick from Mega Man 3 also works on the Wily Wars. So if you go this way, you do have an energy tank, you do have to worry about footholders, but if you can pull something out, an item out, then why not? Now, this is me being probably my only instance in entire Mega Man history of being cowardly and actually skipping reappearing disappearing block segments. I generally don't like to do it, but on this time, well, run through anyway, I just decided to get through a little bit quicker rather than worry about the pack. For this last little bit, again, we seem to be borrowing heavily from Fire stage, so we have and also from Guts stage as well, we have another platform. I decided to wait 1 cycle for it to return because I thought that would give me a slightly easier time of dodging both the fire pillars and the fire tackles, but it didn't really seem to work out all that way, or seem to work out all that great. But there is our first stage, and I showed off both branching paths. So we come to our first boss. Fire Snakey. Now he'll appear from either side of the screen, and obviously you want to bounce, as you can see what I'm doing here, upwards and hit him in the face as he's doing that. Fire Snaky has 2 attacks. What one you can see here is it'll shoot out a fire wave, which obviously if you're furthest away from him won't go anywhere near you. By the way, when he drops down, obviously you can see here that he, when he drops down, he will jump up in an arc over the kind of the blocks and the springs that you can see here over you, and also shoot out, or as a consequence of dropping into the lava and out of it, send fire kind of shots at you, which are not terribly too bad to dodge. He's going to do it again here. The other attack he has, which he actually didn't show off in this run, is that when he's obviously up at his highest height, he can just shoot out fire in pellet kind of form, and they are very, very tricky to dodge. If you want to do this without taking damage, then ideally you probably want to do the fire wave shot. But yeah, the fire, it doesn't do mega damage, and you can avoid it quite easily. But well, you seem to get hit once per run when he does that, so it can be a little tricky to dodge. But yeah, if you want to do a no damage run, like I did there, by the way. Not to say a perfect run, because I didn't use a Mega Buster only in whichever way, in whichever path I went, but yeah. Now, there was something interesting about Stage 1, which some of you may have picked up on or already known, which is a very nice touch actually, that the first Fortress stage contained only enemies from Mega Man 1. So, with somewhat of apologies that I've now spoiled what's going to happen in Stages 2 and 3, Stage 2 borrows from enemies from Mega Man 2, and Stage 3 will borrow enemies from Mega Man 3. So we start off in water, so we're clearly in bubble territory. And by the way, also, I did mention every single Robot Master at least once in my commentary of the first stage, so that they do borrow at least enemies or gimmicks or whatever from each stage. So clearly here we're in bubble, and with these metal presses we're also in metal stages. But the jellyfish little pattern there was rather obnoxious, so giving me absolutely no chance to get through, so I decided, okay, I'll backtrack and get through that way. He decided to be a bastard, but with a bit of skillful sliding and timing, I got through anyway. So not really a branching path, just more just an extra room on the other side of it, but oh well, I'll show it off anyway. I don't spend all that long in there because, well, you'll see. There's a croaker in there, and that volley of frogs, or the one that goes the furthest anyway, will arc all the way across and hit me. So I didn't fancy getting hit, so I didn't bother with it. There was a mystery tank in there, but I didn't bother picking it up, so yeah. And it looks like with this croaker out of the way, we're finally going to get out of the water and out of bubble territory. So that's good. And we pop up into quick territory with the hotheads. It's wonderful, by the way, that if you were going to pick a gimmick from Quick Stage, you picked the hotheads and not any obnoxious laser sections that would have been insta-kill. So I'm very grateful for that. Moving on. Reappearing, disappearing block section from, well, probably Heatman best known from. I'm not sure if they're actually in other stages of off the top of my head, but yeah, let's go with Heat on that one. And a hot dog from Wood Stage. So this one's probably easier than almost all the ones in Wood Stage. Just stay reasonably far back as I'm doing here and shoot him, and his fire waves won't go anywhere near you. Some annoying little spring kind of trolling analog spine enemies from Heats and also Metal Stage. Blah, blah, blah. We also have another reappearing, disappearing block segment, and I say, unlike Stage 1 where I was a bit cowardly and skipped it, there were spikes in there, so I felt like there was a chance I could have died. Here there's no such danger, but yeah, I didn't cheat on this section. Crazy Cannons from Flash's Stage, probably others, but why not Flash's Stage? And here, since I didn't do it on the first run, I show off the little upper path there. Again, not really a branching path, just showing off that there is another mystery tank up there that you can obviously go and collect whatever's in there if you so wish. You have to get past a hothead and a couple of little telly enemies, also from Heats and Crash's Stage, etc. But let's press on. Again, they look like there were 2 paths here, and there is an energy tank up at the top there, but it's a dead end. So since I don't really care about the energy tanks, I'm not really too bothered about it. By the way, since I obviously had to re-record all the footage for this, etc., I couldn't be bothered going back clearing all the Robot Master stages again, so every time you see me on the pause menu changing weapons or whatever, I have no energy tanks, so I lost the ones that I've picked up for some unknown reason anyway in Buster Rod G and Mega Water Rescue stage, but I don't really need them, so who cares? This time we do come to a screen where the path is too rough. What on earth did I just say there? Where the paths do branch. I don't even know what the hell I just said there. Anyway, let's go the top route first. As you saw there was a little air ticky. No, it wasn't an air ticky, and it was a lightning lord. Apologies, from Air's stage. If you go this way, you do get an extra life. You also have to deal with the crazy cannon, but we also have to deal with Pippi. And I wouldn't ordinarily go the top route if I was going through the stage. I would just take the bottom route and not bother going up this way. Primarily because I don't want to deal with these Pippi. There's also lots of spikes, etc., and it's just a lot more dangerous, etc. I do get another extra life there, which is always nice. And a fan fiend also from Air's stage, but yeah. I'd advise not going this way, unless you want to stock up at least, or if you're running low on lives. But that was the end of that path, so let's again backtrack and just take the lower path, which I would recommend. It's possibly a little bit slower actually if you want to kind of get through it, not taking any damage, because you've got to kind of like pause and stop to either take out lightning lords and these crazy cannons, etc. Whereas the other one you could more just rush through. And to be honest, use the word rush, you probably could just rush Jet or any other utility item over this bit as well. But yeah, here I have some fun deciding. I'm not quite sure whether the platform's going to glitch me to the right, etc., or I'll kind of go through. So yeah, I had some fun there. Switching left and right, deciding which angle I was going to jump on the platform from. Some bubble bat enemies from Wood Stage, and joy, oh joy of joys, a sniper armour at the end to finish it all off. So these seem to work very slightly differently from how I remember in Mega Man 2. They always seem to stop and shoot and not just jump up. I was under the impression that if I was in the air, a bit like Mega Man 2, it wouldn't stop to shoot, but it did anyway. So it caught me off guard, and yeah, I slid right into the damn thing. First hit of the run, by the way. Here's the boss of Stage 2, and well, its weakness, as pretty much of a lot of things, is Thunder Beam. So as you can see, it's only weak, obviously here, because I could try and hit it when its face isn't exposed. It's only weak when its face is exposed. In the first stage, it fires these kind of Gemini kind of lasers, if you will, off around, but they're pretty slow moving. Once you get it down to about a third of its health, it will change tact. It will rise up to the ceiling, or up to fan out a bunch of spikes, and then start to just move across the screen, etc. But I took it out with the Thunder Beam so quickly that I didn't even really get the chance to show that off. By the way, that boss I might have completely skipped over was called Iron Ball. And another thing I might have not mentioned, I think I mentioned all the stages of all the Robot Masters from Mega Man 2 as I went through that stage, but one I possibly didn't was Crash. So if I didn't, then let me just say that the Crazy Cannons and also Pippi are from Crash's stage as well. So that covers all of the stages from Mega Man 2. Here is the third stage, and as I've already stated, it will contain enemies from all over Mega Man 3. And we start off with a Hammer Joe, which appears in all sorts of stages, so I'm not even going to bother mentioning them as being a staple from any particular one. But here we have the top platforms from top stage, and thank you again for screwing me over with the sliding on that. Well, yeah, I wasn't going to risk making a complete arse of myself and dropping down the pit, so there you go. But yeah, that was obviously a staple from top stage, and thank you again for the one-up. Too bad I'm not actually trying to do perfect runs or anything. Here's me being extraordinarily cowardly on Hammer Joe, but well, the jumping and the sliding I always do find slightly off, so if I can take advantage of going down ladders, then I will do. Here we have the monkey enemies from hard stage. We also have the net digger kind of enemies, also from hard and also top stage. Now this monkey is quite annoying, but if you can do what I did here and get it into this pattern, which is not terribly easy, but as I said, if you can get it into this pattern, then it will just jump from side to side harmlessly over you, and with no problem whatsoever. One of these top generator enemies from top stage, and you seem to want to give me lots and lots of power-ups. Another Hammer Joe, and yet again I'm going to be cowardly. There is actually less space here to jump over it, but frankly a slide should work, but as I said, the controls just seem slightly non-responsive on Wily Tower, so yeah, I'll be cowardly. You could go up the top ladder there, it's a dead end. You've got an extra life and an energy tank there if you so wish. You also have those Spark type platforms that raise up, and also nut and bolt enemies from Spark and indeed top stage. Here we have a magnet or sucker, etc. for magnet stage. There was a branching path that you can see up there that was blocked by a barrier that you have to break through with hard knuckle, so we'll go back and see that in a minute. Here we have one of these spark type things from Spark stage, and yeah, I swear the timing on that really is freaking obnoxious. I'd actually wait three passes and then it seems to work, but if you try and jump through the first and the second time, I mean, obviously you can time it well then, and you'll get through fine, but yeah, it just seems to be a little bit out. Giant needle presses from needle stages, and I swear that really shouldn't have hit me, but oh well, there you go. Now this magnet combined with the hammer Joe is really annoying. If you drop down like I've done here, right so you're up against the left hand edge there, it won't kind of suck you, pull you in. If you're not right up against that wall, it will, and that can be really freaking annoying. So there's a little tip there. Some enemies there that are from Snake stage, and as we go up the ladder, we get to our branching path end. So let's go back and break through the barrier and see what's going on in the top route. So get out the hard knuckle, break the barrier, and then use a utility item, Rush Jet probably if you have it's the easiest, or probably Rush Coil already, anything else will do. But let's go up and see what's the top path. Again, I probably wouldn't necessarily recommend going this way. It's probably actually slightly easier, so in terms of avoiding damage, because say that needle bit, well, not too bad, but you'll avoid the spark, you know, that little spark area. You'll also avoid, say, the needle bit, although that really shouldn't be too bad, but you'll also avoid that really annoyingly placed magnet with the gap and the hammer Joe. So actually, this is probably the easier path to go. And we get the staple from Gemini stage, which are these little pole enemies. So it's basically exactly the same as they worked in Gemini stage. You shoot them once and the poles come out of their little protected bubbles. And obviously you just want to clear a path of the way through. If you're so inclined, you can obviously spend some time getting up there towards those mystical tanks, but again, I really don't care what's in them, so I just move on. But yeah, this bit actually is probably the easier path, so yeah, if you're trying to do maybe a no damage run, then maybe this is the path for you, but of course you will have to use hard knuckle to get through it. And we're back. So, top generators from top stage, and some of these flying little Mets from needle stage, and another top generator. Nothing here is all that too terribly bad. The enemies are, you know, they're fairly slow moving, and they're not, you know, they really shouldn't be too much of a problem. Seem to have a bit of problem getting down the ladder there. It seems to be giving the most problem. And some of these ball distributors from needle stage. Now, a little tip here: when you go down in this stage, you saw it as I briefly showed in the outtakes. Hang at the top of the ladder. If you drop down, these little pole enemies from pole axe enemies from Snake stage will almost invariably get you. Wait at the top of the ladder until they've pole axed or pole vaulted, and then get out of the way. There's a Yambo there from Needle and also Gemini stage, etc. And probably the one stage I haven't mentioned so far, Shadows. So we get this little giant enemy at the very end there, which is from Shadows stage. So now I'm going to show two ways of fighting the next boss. First, Buster only. And speaking of Buster, Buster Rod G is back, and we finally get the chance to kill him off once and for all. So as I said, yeah, this is the Buster version only. He does obviously have a weakness, and I'll show that off in the next bit. But it just goes by so quickly that I thought I would at least try and show off a Buster only run to show how the fight works. So he's resorting to just shooting pellet shots at you, and that's pretty much all he does. Obviously, you can see here that the floor is kind of breaking apart, etc., and you're going to have to obviously keep up with it. But if you tend to stand, and that's not too bad, but if you tend to stand on like the middle of some of these platforms, Buster Rod G's pellet shots tend to avoid you, so I'm doing a fairly good job here. And unfortunately, I was quite annoyed at this next bit, but he shot one that seemed to go straight at me, which I'm not quite sure why. As I say, if you stand in certain places, these pellet shots just seem to deliberately always miss you, but not always, as you'll see again coming up here. Not quite sure why he decided to tank me there, but oh well. That's how the Buster fight goes. But there's a much, much easier way of doing things. Pull out hard knuckle, it's again his weakness. It wasn't when he fought him in his stage, it is again here. And if you actually shoot quicker than I did here, you can very easily take him out without him getting a hit on you. But I decided, well, this was from the original run actually. I'd actually taken some damage here, so yeah, I couldn't resist keeping this in. Epic pose for the win. But yeah, so that was from the original run when I didn't do such a good job. That footage thankfully remained intact, and I'd always planned to keep this in. But yeah, if you shoot quicker than I did there, you can take him out before he needs to have a chance to shoot a pellet at you. Or shoot a pellet so that it will actually hit you. When you start off the fight, his pellet shots won't go anywhere near you. But yeah, that one did. Final stage. Again, you can select weapons. Well, while we're on the subject of weapons, I'd possibly actually recommend, it'd be useless almost anywhere else, but I'd actually possibly recommend selecting Flash's weapon for this one. Once you get past this little giant piranha fish, so activate Flash now. And you can get through this entire section, no problem whatsoever. You won't have any moles or any metal presses or anything else to worry about. We'll see those in a minute. And you can get through really freaking quickly. So while we're on the subject of, I have no idea why I paused there, by the way. While we're on the subject of weapons, I did say I'd say at some point why I selected all the ones I did. So bomb is Hyperstorm H's weakness. Fire also does a very good job, although I didn't use it, and it's just a generally good weapon. So I'd recommend that. Ice I selected because it's Mega Water S's weakness. Thunder Beam is just freaking awesome. It's just, well, it shoots three ways, etc. It's just an amazing weapon anyway for hitting normal enemies. It also happens to be the Iron Ball's weakness. And Final Boss's weakness as well. Spoiler alert, yeah, sorry about that. So that's just a freaking awesome weapon. What else did I select? I selected Crash Bomb, since it breaks through barriers. I selected Metal Blade, that's pretty much just common sense, although I didn't use the thing. Hard, again, for the same reason. Well, it's actually Buster Rod G's weakness twice as well, plus it can also break through barriers, so that's a good option as well. Spark, well, I'll come on to that in a moment. Yeah, the familiar whistle, Proto Man. Oh, thankfully we don't have to fight him, he just opens up our path to the final boss. But yeah, why did I choose Spark's weapon? Because I felt sorry for it. I still think it's a good weapon, damn it. I don't know why it gets such bad press. So yeah, I didn't use it, but yeah, I felt sorry for it. And yeah, I don't tend to use weapons anyway. But yeah, that's why I picked Spark Shot. Here's our final boss, and it's in 3 phases. Well, I guess it's called Wily Machine, but it's not just really a machine. It's a giant mech kind of thing. What I'm doing here, well, the weakness obviously is its little blue kind of thing here, or where it's kind of shooting out these kind of missiles. What I'm doing here with the Thunder Beam is I'm being a bit careful so as not to, so as to time a shot when I know it's going to shoot out a missile, so that the Thunder Beam also hits the missile. If you kind of mistime it, then you know the missile could end up getting you. So that's what I'm doing here. Thunder Beam is its weakness; it's incredibly weak to it, and I'd recommend doing that. Second phase, what I like to call the boxer phase. Its weakness is actually hard knuckle, but with Thunder Beam you can pull off this little nice trick. Because what the problem with using hard knuckle, and I say I will demonstrate it with the Thunder Beam anyway, is that you kind of have to get up high. Now, he will extend out his hands for you to jump up and get on him like this, and you can obviously hit him like this, and hard knuckle will do the trick here, but it is insanely slippery up there, and it is so easy to just drop off these platforms or fall between them or whatever. So while hard knuckle is technically the second phase's weakness, you can pull off a little tricks with the Thunder Beam so that you can actually hit him when you're on the ground. Final phase, he is weak to Thunder Beam, and if you just kind of either move gradually left and right and shoot away from the exploding bombs on the floor, this bit's really just a piece of cake. What's that? Screw you, Wily. Now you're gonna get it. So, as with all Mega Man games, the fortress explodes, etc. And I'm going to shut up for the credits because the music's freaking awesome, and I want let's enjoy all those. So I will be back giving my thoughts, etc. on the game, etc. But yeah, for now, enjoy the credits. Okay, so with that awesome end credit sequence over, yeah, final thoughts, etc. Well, first off, actually, I completely forgot to say, or actually mention anywhere, that Fire Snaky's weakness, which was the boss of Fortress Stage 1, and that is actually Bubble Lead, and I didn't select that weapon. I selected all other bosses, weapon weaknesses, etc., but I didn't select Bubble Lead, which is Fire Snaky's weakness. The reason for that being that it's insanely annoying to use on Fire Snaky, in the sense that you're going to have to get pretty right up close to him in order to do so. And in doing so, whether he shoots out the fire pellet shots or the fire wave, you're going to get hit an awful lot. So I personally would not recommend using Bubble Lead on Fire Snaky. I much prefer just using the Mega Buster. The Mega Buster does as much damage as any other weapon. So yeah, Bubble Lead is technically its weakness, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it. And Mega Buster for me is certainly the way to go. So yeah, overall thoughts on the game. Well, it's classic Mega Man. I love it for that. The game as a whole, the Wily Wars thing, obviously you get to play Mega Man 1, 2, and 3, all kind of redone in slightly different ways, etc. And they're a lot of fun as well. Personally, I find Mega Man 1 easier on the Wily Wars version than I do on the original NES. But Mega Man 2 and 3 I find harder. Not to say that they're so difficult that you want to repeatedly stab yourself in the eye with a fork or anything, but I find the Wily Wars versions, for the most part, harder. There are some obvious exceptions. I would cite the Airman fight, if I was wanting to do a perfect run, for instance, as one example where the Wily Wars version is completely much, much easier than the NES version. But yeah, overall as a whole, I would consider the Wily Wars versions to be more difficult than the NES counterparts, at least for Mega Man's 2 and 3. But obviously the main reason for the game, I suspect, is is Wily Tower. So what can I say about that? I mean, yeah, it's a wonderful little extra onto it. I feel very fortunate to own it. It is a kind of a reasonably kind of rare game. What did I talk about? I talked about the story. So I mean, the whole idea of it. I mean, I don't mind it. I must admit I don't play Mega Man really for story. So if the story's kind of weak or whatever, then I don't really care all that much about it. The concept of going back in time to undo Wily's past defeats seems a little nonsensical to me, since the exact same thing is probably just going to happen all over again. And as for the little bit at the end of the credits there, where Wily trips over a rock, and Mega Man, having spent 2-3 minutes chasing him, decides, oh, okay, I'm just going to inch towards you, and then I'm going to stand still while your little Wily pad comes in, beams you up, and takes you away. So, yeah, what the hell was Mega Man playing at? He could have arrested him, he could have done anything. So, yeah, he just stood there and let Wily get away. So, yeah, there are plenty to pick holes in Mega Man's story, but that's not why I play Mega Man, so that doesn't really bother me all that much. What else did I talk about? I talked about the history of how I came to own it and everything, and that's glorious to me. The music, I love the music in Wily Tower. I say, other than Hyperstorm H, which is not too bad, but but I love all the other ones, every single one of them. Mega Water S and probably the second Fortress stage being personal favourites, but I love the music in Wily Tower, which is so ironic given that the music in Mega Man's 1 to 3 in the Wily Wars generally sucks in comparison to the NES versions. The gameplay, I mean, I love all three Robot Masters. They're all nice, unique, kind of distinct, that kind of thing. I love the fact that you can pick weapons, whatever weapons you want from Mega Man's 1 to 3, and items and everything like that, and that's a really nice touch. The Fortress stages are really good. They're fun, unlike Mega Man 2, for instance. So, yeah, overall, it's Mega Man. You can't really go wrong with Mega Man. X6, X7. Okay, you can't really go wrong with classic Mega Man. So yeah, I generally love Wily Tower, and that's probably all I want to say on that. The last thing I wanted to say was that I'm not going to be putting up an official scoreboard, a perfect run scoreboard or anything like that, in terms of identifying the difficulty, easiness of this game compared to other ones. Just because I feel that doing so based on only 3 Robot Masters is a bit naff. So I could get away with it in Mega Man 1 because going from 6 to 8, taking an average is pretty much okay, but doing so from just 3 Robot Masters doesn't seem to be quite as suitable for me. So for those of you who actually want it anyway, I will do it verbally. So Hyperstorm H got a 1, Mega Water S got a 3, Buster Rod G got a 5. That brings a total of 9. So divide by 3 times by 8 gives a score of 24. So Wily Tower would score 24, but yeah, I'm not going to make it official by putting a nice picture up with all the numbers and everything like that. So yeah, because I feel that doing it based on only 3 Robot Masters is a bit duff. So yeah, I think that is pretty much all I wanted to say. That is Wily Tower done and dusted. And as I said in my update video on what's coming next, I'm not quite yet ready to go back to I Wanna Be games. I still need a break from Camellia 2. So next up, I will be continuing on with Mega Man Let's Play Perfect runs, and Mega Man 4 will be up next. So yeah, hope to see you for that. Cheerio.